All right, it's now recording. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And again, like I said, today is going to be about creating a digital story. You're probably wondering what a digital story is. So let me just go ahead and share really quickly. Share my screen. I'm also going to share the sound on my computer because I got to show you an example of a digital story in a little bit. So hopefully you guys can all see the Word document on the screen. Can everybody see that? If so, just give me like a thumbs up on the reaction button on your screen. All right, cool. So I can see people can see it already. So basically, what is a digital story? A digital story is a multimedia presentation combining a variety of digital elements within a narrative structure or a story. A lot of that media may include text, images, and video, or any other kind of multimedia. I'll come back to this example really quickly. Actually, let's see if we can actually, does that video still work? Let me see if that works actually. Does it actually work? Okay, so yeah, here we go. I have an example of a digital story. So let me just go ahead and get into that. So again, it's basically just kind of you're telling a story through audio and also visual elements. So let me go ahead and pull in this video. So hopefully you guys can still see that screen. And what I will do is I'll maximize this video and I'll just go ahead and play this. Hopefully you guys can hear that.
Sunday, July 12, 1981, I was dropped off for my first week of Girl Guide camp. I was 6 years old and very alone among a group of girls I had never met before. I was quiet, shy, and more than a little bit scared. That week I sang around the campfire, went on a hike, and swam daily in the lake. I started learning that girls could do anything. We could do anything that boys could do. I returned to camp every year, graduating over the years to camping in tents and to 2-week camps. At camp, my leaders taught me how to light a fire, build a shelter, tie so many knots, make friends, camp in any weather, to make and to read trail signs, paddle a canoe, raise a flag, use a knife, navigate with a compass, to get dirty, and to get things done. I learned to be prepared for anything. At camp, I found mentors and women to look up to. Sunday, August 20th, 1989. This was the summer I would learn to sail and to windsurf. Girls had to swim 100 meters and tread water for 10 minutes in order to be allowed in a boat. I was not much of a swimmer, but I was determined to pass that test. I prepared by taking swimming lessons at home and biking down to the lake daily to attain my Red Cross swimming level. I passed the swimming test. The sailing was so much fun, and the sailing instructors were such a close-knit team, skilled and knowledgeable. I was hooked. I had a goal. I wanted to be a sailor, to teach sailing. That goal took years to attain. I took the determination I had found until I was a certified lifeguard and swimming instructor. I was never much of an athlete or swimmer, but I returned to camp every year, teaching windsurfing and sailing. I learned to work in a team, lead a group, solve problems, teach skills, handle an emergency, and above all, to create adventure. I learned confidence and bravery. I learned to be awesomely capable. They were, all the women I looked up to, we were all awesomely capable. I didn't know that that experience was unique to Girl Guide camp.
Okay, so hopefully you guys kind of get the idea about what the digital story is. If someone's telling a story about something that they have done and they're using imagery to kind of support the narration and then also having some background music and some background audio. Professor Connaughton, I believe you wanted me to actually show them a sample of a student named Stephanie. I think or Stephanie Ortiz?
So that's the one I thought we had that we had saved somewhere. That's the only reason I mentioned it this morning.
So I actually have her e-portfolio up, so I could actually pull it up right now if you want me to take a look and see what's going to be closely related to what they're doing, being the fact that she did hers for the nursing program. So that first example was just kind of like just like a general digital story, but really what we're doing is talking about what we're going to be doing in your nursing journey. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to take a look at this student's digital story. So let me just go ahead and maximize that really quickly. And I'll go through and play this. So this is a student that's actually in the that was or might still be in the nursing program, I believe. No, she's already graduated. Okay.
Becoming a practical nurse is a significant achievement, and I'm grateful to be in the position I'm currently in. This achievement is particularly special for me because the first time I attempted a nursing program, I was not successful. It was truly difficult to overcome this failure and start all over again. I managed to get up and enrolled at LaGuardia the next semester. After transferring my credits, I was missing one course to be able to apply for LPN candidacy. Before I knew it, it was spring 2023. I had emailed my candidacy application and earned an A in Math 106. Becoming a practical nurse means that I overcame failure and became better in the process. Practical nurses play an important role in our communities since most are employed in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. It's a good feeling knowing that I will be earning a living by contributing to society through nursing. Over the past 10 months, I had to stay consistent and focused on my end goal. It has been challenging to earn money, attend lectures, labs, clinicals, and find time to study. On top of all of this, it was a challenge to stay on top of self-care, health, and chores. There were many lectures where I attended with only a couple hours of sleep. This is the life of the average nursing student, especially at CUNY. I've come across many inspiring, strong, and hardworking women, and it was nothing short of absolutely motivating. These past 10 months has solidified where I plan to take my life next. Part of my philosophy of nursing is treating every patient with respect and dignity. As an upcoming new nurse, I will care for every patient without bias. With most of my clinical experience being at Henry J. Carter Specialty Hospital, I have only provided patient care for rented or total care patients. These patients have little to no autonomy, and it's important to recognize how vulnerable they really are. Practicing at Henry J. Carter has been impactful and given me a great nursing foundation. This experience has helped me develop a philosophy of nursing, and part of it is that I want to provide nursing care as I would want it provided to a loved one. Being from New York City and starting my nursing career here has been a privilege because it has exposed me to the diversity I will encounter throughout the field. New York City has a large Spanish-speaking population. In my short clinical experience, I found many opportunities to translate and communicate with Spanish-only speaking patients. In all honesty, it is easier to get information from your patient if you are able to speak the same language. I will make an impact in my community by hopefully using my language skills to make a patient's healthcare experience a better one. Overall, pursuing nursing has not been an easy journey. Congratulations to the LPN class of 2024 at LaGuardia Community College.
Okay, so that was an example of a student who was in the nursing program who had gone through and created a digital story that who added that to her portfolio. And basically, what you're going to be doing is kind of creating the same thing. And what I'm going to be doing today, and going through and creating that, we're going to be using a program called Adobe Express, but we'll get into that in a second. So number two on the digital story workshop, well, you're going to notice that the steps to creating a digital story are basically going to be to, number one, come up with an idea, which should be the assignment that your professor has assigned to you. So there should be some instructions about what you should be talking about. So you're going to want to go through and take a look at that assignment. Second part is going to be to write a script. It's going to be very important that you do write a script because the script is what you're going to be using to narrate your digital story. So as you're building it out in Adobe Express and you get all your images in place, when it's time to you to do the narration of it, you want to make sure that you have that script in front of you so you're reading from it and you're not just reading like, off your head. You want to make sure you have something in front of you that you can go through and read. And what I would also do is that if you're going to be going through and using a script, you're going to want to practice it a few times because you don't want it to sound like as if you are reading from paper. But also, a lot of times when students are actually recording audio of themselves talking, they kind of get very nervous about the way that they sound in the recording. So what you want to do is practice it a couple of times, record it and listen to yourself because you want to get used to how you actually sound. Okay, a lot of times students get nervous and then it kind of throws off their recording because they're not speaking too well, or they're just kind of not used to hearing themselves, so they kind of mess up the recording. So just go ahead and make sure to practice it a couple times. Once you go through it and write the script is going to guide you on what kind of images or what kind of multimedia you should be using. And what you should be doing is looking in your script and finding keywords to locate images that represent what you're talking about. So if you're talking about something, you want to have an image that represents it. Okay. And again, like I said, like your visual should be a representation of what's in your script. And then again, what we're going to be doing at this point is once you have your script written and you've collected all of your multimedia elements, what we're going to be doing at that point is pulling everything into video editing software. In the past, we used to use the Microsoft Photos app, but because that became a little bit more difficult because the way that they actually go through and create videos within the Microsoft Photos app, what we're going to be doing is using Adobe Express. Adobe Express is free to use. All you need to do is just go through and create an account. And then what's going to happen at that point is they'll show you how to go through and create the digital story. And using Adobe Express makes things very, very easy. It's very easy to kind of go through and create like these digital stories. We've been doing it with the past couple of semesters with some of the classes for Professor Coddington, and none of the students really had any kind of issues with using it. They actually found it very easy to go through and do. The next thing is that once you actually go through and finish your digital story, what's going to happen at that point is you're just going to go through and share it by exporting it and then uploading it into your portfolio. So again, here's some tips about going over and doing a digital story. Again, practice reading your script out loud to get used to the sound of your voice and become comfortable with the digital story. You're also going to want to speak in a loud, clear voice and take your time. There's no need to rush through it. Just speak in a normal speaking tone. What you call the images of your video should all be in landscape mode, just to keep the visual aspect consistent. I know sometimes people might want to use some like the selfie mode the photos, but those kind of make the video look a little bit weird. So I would just say make sure you kind of keep them in landscape mode. If you're not using your own images, make sure that if you are going to be getting images from royalty-free sites, and if you look at the bottom here, there's a resource page, which I can send to you guys a little bit later on. These are going to be some tips about the digital storytelling, but also the royalty-free images. Royalty-free images are images that you can use for free without having to worry about any kind of copyright issue, because sometimes if you're just going onto Google and looking for an image, you're not sure if you're actually allowed to use that image. And just to kind of avoid any kind of issues, you want to make sure that you're using it from a royalty-free site. So those images on royalty-free sites are meant for people to use for free when they're creating any kind of projects. Also, what you're going to want to do too is if you're going to be taking some time to kind of go through and work on your digital story, what you want to do is you want to get a folder either on your computer or onto a flash drive. And what you're going to want to do at that point is on your flash drive or on your computer is you're going to create a folder called digital story. And then inside that digital story folder, you're going to create 3 other folders, one for images, one for audio, one for video, depending on how many, what kind of multimedia elements you're going to be using. And you're going to want to make sure that all your images are the images folder, all your audio is in audio, and all your videos are going to be in your video folder. Okay, just that way you kind of go through and organize all of your files, because you don't want to just throw them onto a flash drive and then have to search for all of them. You want to make sure you know that they're in the digital story folder, and then inside the digital story folder, they're in the correct subfolders where they need to be, so you can access them really quickly. One of the other things too is that when you're creating a digital story, you're going to not just want to go through and upload all your multimedia elements, but you're also going to want to make a title screen where it's kind of like a little bit of an introduction, where you have like a title screen saying like this is so and so's digital story, and then you want to have an end screen where it's like just welcoming or thanking people for watching the video. Also, I'll show you guys how to go through and add music into your digital story. But if you are going to be using music in your video or in your digital story, you're going to want to make sure to keep the music very low, because you want to be able to hear yourself. You don't want the music drowning out your voice. Okay, so those are just a couple of tips that you guys should be thinking about when creating digital story. And then also, okay, again, these 2 resources here, if you kind of want to go over some more basic steps of digital storytelling, you can just go ahead and click on this link. It'll take you to a website which will kind of give you some more ideas about creating a digital story. And then there's also a link here for royalty-free images. Okay. All right. So let's get started, right? So let's just say for the sake of argument, I have already gone through and wrote my script, right? And the next thing I would be doing at this point is I would be going through and creating my digital story folder. So you can see here, I have my digital story folder. So let me just go ahead and open that up. Now, inside that digital story folder, I also have the following. I have a folder called audio, a folder called images, and a folder called video. Now, for today's example, I'm not going to use any audio files. I'll get all my audio within Adobe Express, and then I'm also not going to use any videos. But what I will do is use images. So I already went through and found some images that I'm going to be using, and I'll just use these four images here to go through and create my digital story. Now, the next thing you want to do at that point is you're going to want to go to Adobe Express. So let me just go ahead and open up in a brand new window. I'll keep that other window open. And when you go to Adobe Express, what's going to happen is that it'll ask you about either starting your 30-day trial, free trial, or get Adobe Express for free. What you're going to want to do is go ahead and click on Get Adobe Express for free. And what you would do at this point is you would just go through and the process of creating the account. Now, I'm already logged into mine, so I'm not going to go through and do that. But the process of creating the account is very easy. Just going to click on Create an Account. It'll ask you to use like whatever email you want to apply to it, then put in the password, and then you should be good to go. Now, once you get logged into Adobe Express, what we're going to be doing, again, you wouldn't be going into Adobe Express until you have your script written and you have all of your imagery or multimedia elements ready to go. Adobe Express should be the last part because now at this point, we're pulling everything into this program to go through and create the digital story. So in creating a digital story on your main page here from Adobe Express, you have a couple of options here. And I know this kind of looks like there's a lot going on here, but what you could very easily do is look for what you're creating. So what I'm not creating an Instagram story, I'm creating a video. So what I can very easily do is just go ahead and click on the option to, well, up here, actually, let me just go through and click on video. And when I click on video, it's going to ask you what types of videos I'm going to be creating. I'll just go ahead and click on video again because it should take me right into this option here where it gets the stage ready. Right, it's loading everything up. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. This is going to be the interface for Adobe Express when you're creating a video. This media files, this is where you're going to be previewing all of it. Down here, you're going to have like your timeline, which we don't have the timeline. There we go. The timeline just jumped up right now. This is your timeline where you get to kind of organize the way that your files will appear, or the order which they appear. If you look on the left-hand side here, you're going to notice you have some like free resources that you could utilize. I would just stay away from these because some of these are meant for specific things. We're just going to keep it very simple and create a very basic digital story right now. So we're not going to go ahead and use the templates. What we're going to do is click on the media option. And when you click on media, what it's going to ask you to do is that either you can search for media within Adobe Express, because there's an option here where it says media. You can search for photos and video and audio. So besides using those royalty-free sites, you can also use the photo stock images within Adobe Express and also the videos and audio files. Okay. Or what you could do if you have some of your own imagery, you could choose the option to upload from device. Okay. When you're adding text to the screen, what you would do is you would choose the text option here. And again, you can go ahead and use some of the text that's already pre-made for you. These kind of get a little bit tricky to play with. So I would say for your first digital story, I would say not to use that. But if you want to use it later on, I would say play around with it. And I would say at this point, just kind of keep it simple by clicking on add your own text, where it'll be some very basic text that you can just go ahead and format on the screen. And so once you kind of go through and do that, there's also going to be these options up here, which are going to be relating to the stage or this preview window. So if you kind of want to resize it, if you want to give it a specific theme or a specific background color, which we will do in a few minutes, you can go ahead and do so. Okay. So let's say that we're ready to go through and start putting everything together for this digital story. So once we're actually at this point, I think the first thing that we want to do is we want to go through and give a background color to the first scene that we have here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and choose background color. I could choose custom. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of give it like a nice blue background. So let's go ahead and choose blue. we'll go with that color right now. So let's go ahead and X that out. I can see now that the first scene is this blue option right here. And what I want to do at this point is this blue background will be the title screen for my digital story. So besides having this blue background, what I want to do for my title screen is have some text introducing my digital story. So again, what I'm going to do is make sure that I choose the text tool over here. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and click on Add Your Text. Once the text is added, I can now just go ahead and modify this text by double clicking on it. So let me just go ahead and highlight all that. I'll type in Thomas's digital story. So again, I'm just going to keep this very basic. And so now at this point, I have the title screen of my digital story. Now, if I wanted to go through and kind of give it a little bit of an effect to kind of have like the text like kind of like fade in and whatnot, what I could do is that when I click on this text option, I get all, and I choose to type in my own text, you'll notice that this window here on the left keeps changing with all the different options of what you can do. So if you want to go through and say change the font, you can just go ahead and choose any other font that you might want to use. And it should apply that. There it goes. And let me see, this one of the font too. Yeah, you can just play around and see if there's any kind of font that you actually like the most, and you can just go ahead and do so. And let's say I'll put this at semi-bold. Right, there we go. All right. So I can go ahead and play around with the font. I can play around with the size of the font itself. I can make it like either really skinny or kind of bold it. I could also change the font size. So if I want to make it a little bit smaller, just hit that minus mark. If I want to make it a little bit bigger, click on the plus mark. And you start to see that the text starts changing itself. Here, the text layout, these things right here, I would stay away from. Those are kind of like more advanced options. So I would just keep away from that. The fill and outline, I would also keep away from that. The outline thickness, again, these are a bunch of features you would use when you get more experience with using Adobe Express. But again, if you want to keep it very simple, what you could do is go to where it says text effect. And what will happen at this point is there is the option for the inside. Give me 1 second. Let me kind of go back. I think I'm looking at the wrong thing. That's right. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let me go back to where it says animation. Now, the animation is what I wanted, because what I wanted to do at this point is I want to go ahead and click on the in option, where I could then choose how the text actually comes into the screen. And I can either have it fade in, where you see it kind of slowly fades in just like that, or I can have it just kind of slide in from the side or drop in from the top. You can choose any one of these effects by just clicking on it, and you'll see a preview of how it actually works there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the actual the fade effect. Okay. And what's going to happen at this point is that if I have the text fade in, I'm also going to want to add the text fade out as well. So what I'm going to do is I want to click on the out and then also choose fade as well. So now, if I want to preview what my title screen looks like, what I could do at this point is click on the plus, the play button down here next to the timeline. And I can see my text kind of fades in and then fades out. Now, every time you add a scene to this timeline, it's put in for 5 seconds. I think that 5 seconds is a little bit too long. So when I click play, it fades in, it stays, it stays, it stays, it stays, then it fades out. So what I want to do at this point is I want to make that a little bit shorter. So all you need to do is just go ahead and click this part of the, just click on the scene itself. And once you see those two little bars right there, just go ahead and bring that down a little bit. And let's put this at, let's say 3 seconds. Let's see how that looks in 3 seconds. Okay, now let's play it again. Fades in, fades out. So I like that a little bit better. All right, so that I'm fine with the way that my title screen looks. So the next thing I want to do at this point is I want to go through and start looking at my media elements that I have, like all the pictures I have. So what I'm going to do now is above the text option, I have the media option. So I can go ahead and click on that. And it's going to ask me about using items from the library within Adobe Express, but I already have my images that I'm going to be using for today's example. So I'm going to go ahead and choose upload from device. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look for my digital story folder, which is right there. Where is that? Right there. And again, where do I have my images? Inside my digital story folder, inside the images folder. So I'll go right into images, and I can just go ahead and select all of those pictures and click open. Oh, no, actually, I probably shouldn't have done that. It's putting everything all in the same timeline. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and remove those actually. You just go through and click on add scene. Actually, that's what I need to do for. I need to go through and add scene. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to upload from device, and I'm going to choose, let's just choose the house one first. And that goes through. So now I have the house on that next scene. But if you notice, the house does not fit within the entire scene here. So if I want to get rid of that blue background, because that blue background is really only for the title screen, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to expand your image a little bit by pulling those corners out so that the image fits within the entire frame itself. And if you have to kind of move things around, just go ahead and move it around a little bit. But you want to move the picture itself into frame. So now what I'm going to do at this point is the following. I'm going to go ahead and click on add my next scene, which I will then go through and choose upload from device. The next thing I will do is choose the car picture and click open. Again, I got to see that the picture is a little bit small. So what I'm going to do is just expand it so it fits within the entire preview window. And if I have to kind of move it around a little bit, I will go ahead and move it around so it fits into view. And then I'm going to move the scroll bar down so I'll be able to go through and click on add scene again. And what I'll do is I'll click on upload from device. I'll choose the picture of the dog. Once it's on the window again, I'll just go ahead and expand it so it fits within the frame or the display window. Okay, and then move this down again. Choose add scene one more time. Go to upload from device. And then I will click on the picture of the cat. Okay, there we go. So now, let's say I have all of my media elements I'm going to be using for my digital story in my digital story. The next thing I need to do at this point, again, like as I was mentioning before, if I have a title screen, what I'm going to want to do at the end is put in an end screen. So I'll go ahead and click on add scene again. And then what I'll do is I'll go back to the text option where I'll click on add your text. And here I'll just go ahead and write, thank you for watching. And what I'll do is if my title screen was 3 seconds long, I'll also make this one 3 seconds long by dragging those corners over. And as soon as it's at 3 seconds, what I also did before is I put a fade effect on here. So again, on this outro screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and choose that one more time. I'll actually need to choose that text first. Make sure I have the text selected on the screen. I will then go through the option for where it says animation. And again, for the in, I'll choose fade. For the out, I will also choose fade. So now what we could do at this point is we have all of our multimedia elements on the screen now, right? We have the intro screen, we have the outro screen, and I have all of the different images I'm going to be using for my digital story. And I see that someone has a question in the chat. Let me go ahead and see. Okay, no, that was from Professor Connington before. I didn't see that. So again, what I did at this point is I have the intro screen, the outro screen, and I have all of my media elements on the timeline. So what I'm going to do now at this point is the following. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. So let me just scroll back here. I'm going to click on the first scene, and I'm going to go ahead and click on play. And we'll see how this whole thing runs through. So it fades in, then it fades out. I have my first picture that shows up of the house. Then I have the second picture, which is going to be of the car. Then I have the picture of the dog. Then I have the picture of the cat. And then I have the outro screen. Okay, so now I see that the video just kind of plays through by itself. There's no audio on here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to go through and record my narration for my digital story. Now, what you want to do here at this point is here's where you should have your script with you. And this way, you can just go ahead and start speaking into the digital story. Now you don't necessarily need to have an audio on your like a narration on your title screen, but if you wanted to kind of go through and say, "Hi, my name is so and so. This is my digital story," please feel free to do so. If not, you can just start with your first media element, which is what I'm going to do. I'll start with my first picture that comes there. So what I'm going to do now at this point is if I want to put a narration on here, I'm going to go ahead and click on that option there. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm starting on that scene. So let me just drag that to the beginning of that scene. And what I'm also going to do again is I'm going to go back to the media option. And this time in media, I'm going to go to where it says audio. Now, once I've selected audio, I can either upload some audio from my computer, or I could go ahead and record voiceover. So what I'm going to do is I want to do the voiceover. So let me go ahead and click on record voiceover. And what's going to happen most likely, it's going to ask you to give permission to use the microphone on your computer. Just go ahead and make sure you click allow so that you can go through and start doing that. And once you give permission to Adobe Express to use your microphone, you're going to notice here that the microphone, you'll start seeing that the little audio will start going off here. So you know that it's picking up your audio. Now, when you're ready to record, you can click on start recording. And what it'll do is it'll count down for you. So let's go ahead and click on record. Say 3, 2. Like, say, hi guys, this is a picture of a house that I found online. You can go ahead and click on finish recording at that point. I don't know if you guys saw that, but let me go ahead and do that again in case you guys didn't see that. Let me just delete this. I'll do it again. Go back here, bring this back. Click count down again. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. I'll click finish recording. And what happens now is that I can see that directly under that picture, I now have that voiceover, right? That's there. But what you're going to notice at this point is the following. That voiceover is a lot less than what that picture is. You see the picture still there. So what I want to do at this point is I want to make sure that this picture matches up with the length of the actual audio file. So I'll just go ahead and make that a little bit smaller, and that should be fine. What I'm then going to do now at this point is I'm going to be ready to record audio for the next scene. So let me go ahead and click on the next scene. Just drag it right back to the beginning of it. And then let me go ahead and click on start recording again. 3, 2. Hi, this is a picture of a car. I'm going to click finish recording. I don't like the way I did that, so let me go ahead and get rid of that again. Let me go ahead and click the 3 little dots right there and click delete. Delete that audio. Just bring this right back here. And I'll click on start recording again. It's going to count down. This is a picture of a car that I found online. I'll click finish recording. Again, I can see that the audio is a lot less. It's on the timeline a lot less than the picture is. So again, I'll click that, drag that picture down to match up with the length of the video, or not match up with the length of the audio, actually. I'm sorry. Then I'll go to the picture here of the dog. And again, I'll click start recording and it'll count down. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. Finish recording. Drag this over a little bit. I can see that there's still some of the picture there. I will just go ahead and drag that back so it matches up with the audio there. And then what I can do is I can start with the picture of the cat now. I'll click on to start recording. 2, 1. And this is a picture of a funny cat that I found online. Finish recording. Let me just scroll over. Again, I can see that the audio is not as long as the picture is, so let's go ahead and make that a little bit shorter. And now everything should match up. So what I'm going to do now at this point is the following. I want to go all the way back to the beginning of my digital story. And because I've gone through and recorded the narration, I made sure that my pictures matched up with the audio. So again, when you're recording your digital story, every time you mention something, you should have that picture show up. So you're going to have to play around with the images and like resizing them on the timeline to make sure they match up in the audio where you talk about them. So I did this very simply, but again, yours might be a little bit more dynamic to do, but Don't worry about it. It's very easy. You can just go ahead and resize those pictures to make sure it fits where it's supposed to be on the timeline for where the audio is. Now, what I want to do is once you go through and finish this whole thing, you can go ahead and click on the play button. And, oh, sorry, I started at the end. Let me go back and do it again. Let's click back on that first. Drag that right to the beginning, and let's play. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. This is a picture of a car that I found online. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. And this is a picture of a funny cat that I found online. So you can see now that the pictures and the audio kind of match up, right? The one thing what you're going to want to do at this point is you're always going to want to play through it to make, because you might have to fine tune the audio and the pictures again. So let's go back to the beginning and play it one more time. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. So I can actually make that audio a little bit shorter. So we go ahead and select that audio and drag it to like right around there. And then also choose that picture. Make that a little bit shorter there too. Just drag that audio back over and let's play it again. Let's play it from this first one. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. Right, for some reason this is taking okay, it's saying that we detect we might be having video editing issues. I'm not sure why that message is popping up, but let's kind of go back and see if this will play again. Fine. Yeah, there's something going on with Adobe Express right now. I think it might be something with my internet. Let me just close the program out. Let me close out my email. Let's see if that helps. Let me quit Teams too. See if that helps at all. Okay, so I'm having a little bit of a problem. Not sure why, but I'm having a little bit of issue with Adobe Express right now. It's saying I have an audio or a recording issue. Let me X that out, see if that helps too. Let's go back to here. Okay, it's playing through now. Let's see. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. Seems to be when it comes here, it's having an issue. I'm not exactly sure why, but let me go through and go back to my home page again. Let me just go click on the Adobe icon. So if you do have run into any issues like I just ran into right now, what you're going to want to do is click on the Adobe Express icon up here. And what you could then do at this point is the following. What you should be aware of about this program is that even though we already started working on the project, I have the audio on the timeline, I have all the pictures on the timeline. If you ever kind of run into any kind of issue like this, you can either sign out, sign back in, if you're using Wi-Fi, you might want to see if you can find like a stronger signal somewhere. But what the beauty about this program is that it will automatically save things for you. So even if you have to do what I just did right now, if you click on the home page, if you scroll down to where it says, should be your recent options. There we go, where it says recent down here. Click on my most recent story that I created. And I can just double click on that one, right? And it's getting everything ready. And there we go. Waiting for everything to load up again. All right, so everything's fine. So we're going to go through and see if it plays through this time. It goes for 3 seconds. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. This is a picture of a car that I found online. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. So again, before I do anything, I can see that the picture of the dog and the audio are a little bit off. So let me just drag the audio down over here. And also let me go through and play that from the beginning now. Or play from this one slide. This is the picture, so I can see it starts a little bit late. So let's drag that over to right around there. And let's see what happens here. I might have to go through and do the same thing with the audio really quickly. All right, let's just take a look and see how this sounds now. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. All right, so I like the way that looks or the way that sounds. So what I'm going to do is, oops, sorry, move that back over to right there and Bring that back. And then let's go ahead and move the audio for the cat down here. Let's just play back from this one right here. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. And it kind of goes. This is a picture of a funny cat that I found online. Okay, so the one about the cat kind of has to get a little bit trimmed. Let me go back and see where I need to trim that. Funny cat that I found online. So like right around here. I should end it. And then let's go ahead and drag that audio down to there. And then what I want to do now is go back and play the whole thing. So again, once you start getting everything on the timeline, you get your audio on the timeline, you have to start fine tuning the pictures with the audio, just like I've been doing. And it takes a little bit of time, but once you get it done, it'll be fine. So let's just go ahead and click on play again. Or actually, before I click play, let me click back on the first slide here. And let's click play. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. I'm not sure. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. I'm wondering why that audio for the card did not show up. Why is that? What happened there? Right, that's very weird. I'm not exactly sure why I'm not getting that audio, but I think there might be something wrong with the way when I got the error message before in here, because it's not showing me that audio for some reason is not playing with this right now. Do I have it muted? No, I don't have it muted. Let's unmute. The audio is at 100%. All right, so I'm not exactly sure why I'm having an issue with this second slide here, but again, you can see that when you're actually going through and putting this together, just play it through and see how everything plays back. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online, and this is a picture of a funny cat that I found online. Okay, so there we go. So let's just say for the sake of argument that everything is working properly. Again, I apologize for that second frame here with the card. The audio for some reason is not working. I kind of had an issue with that before. So what I'm going to do is we're going to leave it the way it is. But now, once you go through and play all this back and your intro plays through, your pictures match up with all of your audio, and then your outro plays through, the next thing you might want to do is say, well, this is kind of, it might be a little bit static, a little bit boring because there's not anything like going on in the background. If you wanted to put music onto your digital story, what you could do again is go back to multimedia. You could choose audio. And then when you click on the audio option, you're going to skip over the upload from device. You're also going to skip over the record from VoiceOver. And what you could then do is choose one of the background options here. So let me go where it says background. Let me go ahead and click on view all. And let's see what kind of songs they have here. Boring. All right, let's use this one. So I'm going to use that for the background of my digital story. Now, if you notice that I have my multimedia elements here, I have my audio that I recorded here, and then this sound right here, or this audio, is going to be the background. So that shouldn't be that. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. This is actually the music for the background. When I click on this, what you're going to want to do at this point, when you click on the audio for the background, you're going to want to make sure that you go up to here where it says volume and bring this down from 100% all the way down. I would say probably close to like 5%. I know that sounds like a lot, but trust me, the music is kind of loud. So let's just go ahead and play this through with the audio in the background. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. Again, I'm not sure why that audio is not working with that picture. This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. And this is a picture of a funny cat that I found online. Okay, so again, our music played through. Let's say that we are successful with our digital story and we like the way that everything played back. Now, the next thing that we have to do at this point is we have to go through and export the video so that we can now upload it into our portfolios. So what I want to do at this point, if I'm perfectly fine with the way that my digital story has come out, what I can then do is go up to the option up here in the upper right-hand corner for where it says download. And what it's going to say to you, it's going to say you can download that file format, which is MP4. What resolution, just keep it at the original size, and then go ahead and click on download. And what happens is that it'll start to say that it's starting to download. It should go through pretty quickly, depending on if you're plugged directly into the internet or if you're using Wi-Fi. It might depend on how strong your Wi-Fi signal is. But you can see it's going pretty quick for me. Again, this is because this is a very basic digital story that I'm putting together right now. And that's finished. Now, what's going to happen at that point? I can just exit out and worry about that. And what you're going to want to do now at this point is my digital story has been downloaded. So where do I go through to pick up that video? Where do I find it? You're just going to go to where your downloads are on your computer. So let me go to my downloads folder, and I can see my digital stories there. So I'll just drag it to my desktop. And let me just kind of minimize this window. And now I have my digital story right there. Let's go ahead and double click on it. And here's how the digital story should play out. Hi, this is a picture of a house that I found online. This is a picture of a car that I found online.
Now it's working.
This is a picture of a cute dog that I found online. And this is a picture of a funny cat that I found online. Okay, so that's my digital story, right? So again, I just wanted to put together a very simple digital story just so that you guys can see the basics of how to go through and incorporate your images, how to go through and record audio, and how to put that background music inside your digital story. So you can put together something very similar, very simple like this. Or if you want to, I would say if you have time to, play around with some of the other features or some of the other options here. Adobe Express is very easy to pick up. And if you look into Adobe Express itself, there are going to be built into the actual site is that they will have tutorials about how to go through and do things. So if you have any questions about something else you might want to do with the audio or with like the text or whatnot or your images, take a look and see what tutorials they have built into their site. And then you'll just go from there and like just learn how to go and kind of go through and get into like more advanced options of creating a digital story. But basically, this is how to go through and create a very simple, basic digital story. And then once you actually go through and download and export it, the next thing would be for you to go through and upload it to your portfolio. And if you've been working on your portfolios for a while, you're just going to be uploading it just like you would any file onto into your portfolio. So do we have any questions before we finish for today? If nobody has any questions, then I guess we can end there. If you do have any questions later on, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Your professor can give you my email address, so you can just contact me directly. If you are going to contact me directly about anything you might need help with, especially as regarding the digital story, just make sure you put that in the subject line so that I know that this is from Professor McMinning, Professor Connaughton's class, and I'll try to answer you as soon as possible. Okay. If not, what I will do at this point is this recording that we did today will be uploaded to Dropbox, and I will go through and give your professor the link to the Dropbox recording so that later on she can just go through and email all of you. So if there's anything you may have missed today or something you may have forgotten, you can review that video just to see how we went through and added everything to the timeline and kind of organized and structured everything for your digital story. Okay, so let me just go ahead and stop the recording right now. Okay, so let's finish that. Okay, so does anyone have any